Grizzlies fans, a little bit of deja vu. The Grizzlies taking on the Denver Nuggets for the second time in about a week. Joining me again is Katy Winge. Ready for another one, but this one's at home for you guys. That's a little more fun.
Well, both of these teams are really great at home. So, I mean, you guys just got one against the Nuggets in Memphis. Can Denver I don't want to, revenge game feels too serious. But Denver has been really, really great at home. I think they have the best win percentage at home in the entire NBA. I know Memphis is up there too. So from what I heard, I wasn't in Memphis that game. I was back in the studio hosting our pregame show. From what I heard, it was absolutely a playoff atmosphere there. So I'm expecting it to be a similar type environment in Denver today when these two teams face off.
Yeah, so fun. I mean, it's the best two teams in the West going at each other. Revenge does seem a little crazy, but it is like the not back-to-back-ish, because both these teams are coming off a win against Houston, actually. But it is like the closeness of it that you're like, oh, this could get a little like chippy out there. So it should be fun. What is it about Denver that makes it is it your fans? I know there's altitude. The Grizzlies were there a day earlier to get adjusted to it, but like what makes this arena so hard to play in?
You know what? I think the Nuggets actually, after last season, they did not play well at home, at least to their standards. So coming into this new season, they were like, we need to be better at home. We need to protect our home court. And it kind of sounds cliche, right? Like a lot of teams in the NBA are like, well, we need to win, majority of our games at home. But the Nuggets have taken so much pride in playing at altitude, in playing at Mile High, and in playing at Ball Arena. So it's just been a very conscious effort to play their best basketball here in Denver. The fans have been showing up and showing out, and our guys love that. They love feeding off of that type of energy. And I do think, the altitude does play a role. It absolutely does. And the Nuggets have done a great job of getting off to really good starts in Denver at home in that first quarter. And I think that has been a difference maker in this matchup in particular, because when the Nuggets beat Memphis in Denver back in December, the first quarter, I think it was like 35-18, maybe. Memphis just struggled to get going in that game, and Denver came out hot from the start. And then in Memphis, the Nuggets had a slower start. So for me, the first quarter in this game is going to be really, really key, which team comes out and throws the first punch.
Oh, I love Katie's keys. That's key number one. I like it. Okay, let's talk about the guy who is coming off his 100th career triple-double, because this man is wild. Yes, when he was in Memphis, we were just saying like he had 15 and 13, which is like a bad game for him, which is still a really good NBA game. Still no Steven Adams for the Grizzlies. So it's going to be Xavier Tillman Sr. again on that. Obviously, it's everyone on Jokic, but on that one-on-one matchup. Mm-hmm. Just the game earlier, he held Joel Embiid to 7 of 25. We felt on our side that he had a really good defensive game against Jokic, helped get the win, played a really big role for Memphis. What do you expect from Jokic tonight? Like, I feel like he doesn't get tired. Like, you know what I mean? He's coming off a triple-double, and he's just like, well, I got another one.
Yeah, he's also coming off being the Western Conference Player of the Month for the month of February. And like, he's averaging a triple-double this season. So the thing, and I think I said this last time we talked, Kels, it's like, he's going to make the right play every single time, no matter what. And there's been a lot of conversation nationally lately about him being a stat patter, which I think is ludicrous. Like, I think that's a crazy statement, because he only takes 15 shots a game. Like, he has the second most field goal attempts on the Nuggets. He doesn't even lead the Nuggets in field goal attempts. Like, he will constantly dissect defenses. And if he's going to, take someone one-on-one and look to score, he's going to do that. If he can get an offensive rebound, he's going to do that. If he can find a teammate in a position that's a great shot, he's going to do that. So I think Joker's just going to continue to Joker. For me, it also is going to come down to all the players around him. Can they step up and make shots? Can they step up and have big games? I think it's going to be a massive lift for the Nuggets having Aaron Gordon back in this game. They did not have AG in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And just in terms of like going up against Jaren Jackson Jr. and being a force down low, defensively and offensively, really, because AG does such a great job of being a force defending the paint in Memphis, obviously the best paint team in the entire NBA. So I think having AG back will also allow Jokic to be even better. When Jokic has better, threats around him, obviously Denver's offense is that much more effective.
Yeah, that was actually getting my second question, is that Aaron Gordon. I know he's listed as probable right now, but back in the lineup tonight. So covered that. Let's go to Ja Morant then. He had 23, 7, and 4 earlier this week against the Nuggets. Obviously the superstar of the Nuggets or the Grizzlies, the franchise player for us. What did you feel like, what problems did he create for the Nuggets last game? Like, how do you see that kind of rematch going?
Yeah, I actually do think the Nuggets and every team that's faced Memphis recently is catching a break a little bit with no Steven Adams, because Steven Adams makes Ja that much better, and presents such great screen setting and such a big body to have to get around, which gives Ja so much room to create. But that his teammates have been doing a great job of that too. And when Ja has space and is able to get downhill and to score in the paint, that's when he really gives teams trouble. So I think being able to take care of the basketball, not letting Memphis get out and run in transition, because Ja Morant thrives in transition and in fast break situations. And then just doing the best you can to defend in the pick and roll. It's just such a tough cover. You're going to give them a bunch of different looks. We had, situations where Jokic was playing down a little bit in pick and rolls, playing up a little bit, double teaming, trying to get the ball to Ja's hands. So again, I don't think that the Nuggets coverages will change a whole lot necessarily, but it's just about making things really, really tough and knowing his tendencies.
Yeah, for sure. There's also one thing I wanted to bring up when you said AG was back. I also, obviously Desmond Bane played, but since his toe injury against Houston in our very last game, he scored 30 points for the very first time since his injury. So I feel like he's like potentially like getting that like momentum back, but that's beside the point. My last question for you was the bench. I think the benches in these two teams are so important. Last game, I think they both had, what do they have, 60 and 40? Like it was like a lot of points came off the bench. Almost 100 points in the game came off of the bench. Can you tell me, like, who are the two main guys off the bench that Grizzlies fans got to keep an eye on tonight?
Yeah. And I think, that game in Memphis was a little bit of an outlier just because the fourth quarter, I feel like, was all benches, like all bench players, because the Nuggets just did not show up ready to play in that regard. The Nuggets bench is still kind of figuring itself out. The acquisitions that we made at the trade deadline with Thomas Bryant, with Reggie Jackson, Coach Malone talked after the last game against Houston that he felt like Reggie Jackson was Reggie Jackson.
Reggie Jackson was there. I saw him.
I know. Yes. So he felt like he was more himself in that game. He looked more comfortable doing what he does and finding his new identity with that second unit. But Bruce Brown also had a really good game in Houston. He's a guy that just plays the game the right way, doesn't force anything, but when he can knock down shots, when he can get out and run in transition, when his defense kind of leads to easy offense for him, it's really great for the second unit. So they're still kind of finding themselves. The chemistry continues to develop, but it absolutely is going to play a huge role in tonight's game. Denver's starters are typically super consistent, one of the best starting lineups in the NBA. Yes, I actually think that has outscored the Nuggets starters in that game in Memphis, which that rarely happens, where the starters don't outscore the other team's starters. So it's more about how do they come off the bench. Tyus Jones killed the Nuggets in Memphis too. I think he had 17 points off the bench. So can that unit come in, defend, rebound, and run and find some easier ways to score from their defensive intensity?
Yeah. My last question. Sorry, I said that was my last. Michael Porter Jr. is probable tonight. Is that what he is?
Yeah, I think Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon will both be probable up until game time, but I would be shocked if they didn't play, especially with this being a side-by-side on ESPN. Like you mentioned, number 1 and number 2 in the West. Both of them played in the last game, and they were on the injury report before that last game too. So I would expect them both to be in tonight, but they're also not 100%. So keep that in mind too.
Okay, very interesting. So tonight, the game tips off at 9 p.m. Central Time if you are in Memphis. It is very late. Katie mentioned it's on ESPN2.
ESPN as well. So it's on ESPN. I know it's very confusing.
But we love a local channel. So Katie's going to be the analyst seat on Altitude TV. You can watch locally in Memphis on Valley Sports Southeast. Because look, who knows the teams better than the local people? The
hometown teams, baby.
Okay, thank you so very much. Our last regular season matchup of the year. I appreciate your time and your analysis so very much.
Of course. Maybe I'll see you in late May, early June.
Ooh, I love that.